Have you ever chased something so fervently that it felt as though your very existence depended on it? A dream, a person, a purpose. And yet the closer you seemed to get, the farther it appeared, like the horizon retreating as you walked toward it. This is the paradox of seeking. And here's the twist: what if the thing you are searching for has been seeking you all along? Let us pause for a moment and reflect. When we seek, we often imagine ourselves as incomplete, believing that fulfillment lies somewhere out there in some future moment, in some distant place, or in someone else's approval. But consider this: perhaps the seeker and the sought are not two separate things. Think of a river winding toward the ocean. Does the river seek the ocean, or is the ocean calling the river? Is it not both? The river flows not out of need, but because it is its nature to move. And the ocean, vast and open, does not demand the river's arrival, it simply waits, knowing the meeting is inevitable. Similarly, when we long for love, for purpose, for understanding, it may not be because we lack these things, but because their essence is already within us, waiting to be recognized. Have you ever noticed that when you stop running after something, it often comes to you? This is not magic, it is harmony. When we stop trying to force life into submission, we align ourselves with its natural rhythm. The things we truly need, peace, connection, joy, are drawn to us because we have made space for them to enter. The truth is, what you seek is already a part of you. Your yearning for love reflects the love you are capable of giving. Your desire for purpose reveals the depth of meaning you are capable of creating. The beauty you search for in the world is a mirror of the beauty you carry within. The Persian poet Rumi, whose words inspire this thought, once said, "You were born with wings, why prefer to crawl through life?" To seek is to believe you are grounded, but to realize that what you seek is seeking you is to discover your wings. So, my friends, seek boldly, but not blindly. Understand that the journey itself is the connection, that your reaching is not a sign of absence, but of abundance. And when you feel lost, remember this: the river does not doubt the ocean. Trust the pull, for what you seek is seeking you. We live in a world that teaches us to grasp tightly, to plan meticulously, and to structure our lives as though the universe itself were a machine we can fine-tune. We imagine that if we can just push the right buttons, make the right moves, or follow the perfect formula, we can control the outcomes of our lives. But let me ask you this: how often do things go exactly as planned? Think back to a moment in your life when you had everything mapped out. You had the steps, the timeline, the vision. Now, consider how much of what actually unfolded followed that script. Did the unexpected knock on your door? Did life take a turn you didn't foresee? It is in these moments that we encounter what I call the illusion of control. We try to be the masters of our fate, yet time and time again we are reminded that the dance of life is not one we lead, it is one we join. Control, as we understand it, is a comforting myth. It's a story we tell ourselves to feel secure in an inherently unpredictable world. We want to believe that we are the architects of our destiny, the directors of our personal narratives. But life is not a static script or a rigid structure. It is a fluid, dynamic interplay of forces, many of which are beyond our grasp. To embrace life fully, we must learn to loosen our grip on control and instead flow with the rhythm of chaos. Now, let me clarify: chaos is not the enemy. Chaos is not disorder in the negative sense we often ascribe to it. Chaos is the realm of possibility, the fertile ground from which creativity, growth, and transformation arise. It is the unexpected detour that leads to a breathtaking view, the surprise encounter that changes the course of your life, the unforeseen challenge that awakens strengths you never knew you had. When we resist chaos, when we fight against the natural unpredictability of existence, we suffer. It's like trying to hold back the tide with our bare hands. We expend energy, we feel frustrated, and we often end up swept away anyway. But when we embrace chaos, when we see it not as something to be controlled, but as something to be danced with, we find freedom. Life is not a straight line, it's a dance. And in every dance, there are moments of stepping forward, moments of stepping back, moments of spinning, and moments of stillness. There's no single way to move, no rigid sequence that guarantees perfection. The beauty of the dance lies in its spontaneity, its unpredictability, its ability to surprise and delight us. When we embrace the dance of chaos, we begin to see life as it truly is, a series of moments, each unfolding as part of a larger, ever-changing pattern. We stop clinging to how we think things should be and start appreciating them as they are. We learn to adapt, to improvise, to let go of our need for control and instead trust the flow of life. This does not mean we abandon responsibility or surrender to passivity. It means we approach life with a sense of curiosity and openness. It means we act with intention but without attachment to the outcome. It means we prepare for the journey but remain willing to change course when the winds shift. In the end, control is not the goal. Connection is. Connection to the moment, to the people around us, to the vast and mysterious currents of life itself. When we stop trying to control the dance and instead join it fully, we discover a deeper harmony, a harmony that is not imposed but arises naturally when we trust the music. So let us release the illusion of control and step onto the dance floor of life. Let us move with courage, with grace, and with the knowledge that chaos is not something to be feared but something to be embraced. For it is in the dance of chaos that we find the essence of what it means to truly live. When we stand in front of a mirror, we see our reflection, a familiar face staring back at us, a collection of features we recognize as our own. But what if I told you that the most profound mirrors are not made of glass? What if the truest reflections of ourselves are found not in our own image, but in the eyes of others? Our life has a way of holding up mirrors in unexpected places. Every interaction, every relationship, every encounter is an opportunity to see ourselves more clearly, not just who we are, but who we can become. And yet we often resist this. We walk through life seeing others as separate, as distinct entities, divided from us by walls of identity, belief, and experience. We categorize, we label, we create boundaries. But beneath those surface distinctions, there is a deeper truth. We are not as separate as we seem. Consider this: when someone frustrates you, what is it that truly bothers you? Is it their behavior, or is it the way their behavior reflects something within yourself? Often the qualities we find most challenging in others are the ones we struggle to accept in ourselves. The impatience of a colleague may mirror our own unacknowledged impatience. The arrogance of a stranger may echo our own insecurities. In these moments, the other person is not just another, they are a mirror, showing us parts of ourselves we might otherwise ignore. But this reflection works both ways. Just as others reveal our shadows, they also illuminate our light. The kindness of a friend, the courage of a loved one, the creativity of a peer, these too are mirrors, reflecting our capacity for goodness, bravery, and imagination. When we admire these qualities in others, we are often recognizing them in ourselves, even if we have yet to fully embrace them. The challenge, then, is to look beyond the surface, to see others not as separate from us, but as extensions of us. This is not just a poetic idea, it is a profound truth rooted in the interconnected nature of existence. Every person we meet is shaped by the same forces that shape us, by hopes, fears, joys, and struggles. They laugh for the same reasons we do, they cry for the same reasons we might. To see ourselves in the other is to acknowledge our shared humanity, our shared journey through this vast and mysterious life. This understanding changes everything. When we see ourselves in the other, judgment softens. Instead of reacting with anger or resentment, we respond with curiosity and compassion. We begin to ask questions: why might they be acting this way? What part of their story am I not seeing? And in asking these questions, we not only deepen our understanding of them, but also of ourselves. This perspective also invites us to reflect on the roles we play in the lives of others. If every person is a mirror for us, then we too are mirrors for them. What do we reflect back to the people we encounter? Are we reflecting kindness or indifference? Understanding or impatience? Each interaction becomes an opportunity to offer a reflection that uplifts, that inspires, that heals. But perhaps the most transformative realization is this: when we look deeply enough, the distinction between self and other begins to dissolve. The mirror reveals not just a reflection, but a unity. The barriers that separate me from you fade, and we see that we are part of something greater, a vast web of connection where every thread is intertwined. This shift in perspective does not just change the way we see others, it changes the way we see the world. The stranger on the street is no longer a stranger, but a fellow traveler. The difficult person in your life is no longer an obstacle, but a teacher. And you, in turn, are no longer just an isolated individual, but a living reflection of everyone you meet. So as you move through life, remember this: every interaction is a mirror. Look deeply, and you will see yourself in the other. And in that recognition, you may discover the profound truth that we are not separate, we are one. There's a peculiar thing about being human. We are constantly pulled between two worlds, the past and the future. We replay old memories, analyzing what we did, what we should have done, or what we could have done differently. At the same time, we project ourselves forward, imagining what might happen, worrying about what could go wrong, or dreaming of what could be. Yet in all of this mental activity, we often overlook the only time that truly exists, the present moment. The present is not just a fleeting instance between past and future. It is life itself. Everything you have ever experienced happened in a now. Everything you ever will experience will also unfold in a now. The past is gone, a collection of moments that no longer exist except in memory. The future hasn't arrived, a series of possibilities that exist only in our imagination. And yet we often sacrifice the now in service of these two illusions. Think about how much of your day is spent somewhere other than the present. Perhaps you're physically here, but mentally you're replaying a conversation from yesterday or worrying about a deadline tomorrow. Even as you listen to me, part of your mind might be wandering, thinking about something you need to do later or reflecting on something that happened earlier. This is not a flaw unique to you, it's the human condition. But in this constant distraction, we miss the richness of what is happening right now. Why is the present so hard to embrace? Perhaps it's because the present is ungraspable. The moment we try to hold on to it, it slips through our fingers. Unlike the past, which we can revisit in memory, or the future, which we can anticipate in our minds, the present can only be experienced directly. It cannot be possessed or controlled. This makes it both humbling and liberating. When we live in the past, we are tethered to what no longer is. We carry regrets, resentments, and nostalgia, allowing them to weigh us down. When we live in the future, we are trapped by what has not yet come. We become consumed by anxiety, expectations, and hopes. But when we live in the present, we are free. We are not defined by our yesterdays or limited by our tomorrows. We simply are. This is not to say that the past and future have no value. They do. The past teaches us and the future guides us. But they are tools, not destinations. The moment we treat them as more important than the now, we lose sight of life itself. The truth is, the past and future are constructs. They exist only in our minds. The present is the only time we can truly touch, the only time we can truly live. What does it mean to embrace the present? It means showing up fully for whatever is happening, even if it's uncomfortable. It means noticing the sensations of your breath, the warmth of the sun on your skin, the sound of laughter in the distance. It means letting go of the need to be elsewhere and realizing that this moment, imperfect as it may seem, is enough. This doesn't mean we ignore our responsibilities or abandon our plans. It means we approach them with presence. Instead of rushing through life, always thinking of the next thing, we slow down and give our full attention to what's here. If you're eating, truly taste the food. If you're speaking to someone, really listen. If you're walking, feel the ground beneath your feet. The present is a gift, not because it's always pleasant, but because it's real. It's the only time we can act, feel, love, and grow. The past may shape us, but it does not define us. The future may inspire us, but it does not control us. Only the now holds the power to transform us. So let us make a choice, not tomorrow, not later, but now. Let us choose to be here fully in this moment. For the present is not just the only time we have, it is the only time we are. And when we truly inhabit it, we discover that life itself is not something to be chased or waited for. It's already here, unfolding in every breath, in every heartbeat, in every now. When was the last time you played? Not for a goal, not to win or achieve, but simply for the joy of it, for the sheer delight of being alive and engaged in the moment. Somewhere along the way, many of us lose touch with the spirit of play. We become so consumed by responsibilities, goals, and the demands of life that we forget one essential truth: life itself is not a problem to be solved, but a game to be played. From a young age, we are taught to take life seriously. Success is measured by achievement, progress, and productivity. We learn to approach life as though it were a staircase we must climb, each step representing a milestone, a duty, or a goal. But in this relentless pursuit, getting somewhere, we often miss the point entirely. Life is not about reaching a destination, it's about being fully present for the journey. Consider for a moment how children play. They don't need a reason or a result. They run, laugh, and imagine not because they are working towards something, but because they are immersed in the joy of the moment. Their play has no agenda, it is an expression of freedom and creativity. As we grow older, we tend to lose this perspective. We start to believe that everything must serve a purpose, must lead to an outcome, must justify its existence. But what if the highest purpose of life is simply to live it? Play is not a distraction from life's seriousness, it is a reminder of life's essence. To play is to embrace the present moment with curiosity and wonder. It is to let go of the need to control, to perform, or to prove yourself, and instead surrender to the experience of being alive. In play, we connect with our truest selves, the part of us that knows life is not a race but a dance, not a competition but a celebration. This perspective shifts everything. Imagine approaching your daily tasks not as burdens but as opportunities for creative engagement. Imagine seeing challenges not as obstacles to overcome but as elements of the game, inviting you to adapt, learn, and grow. Imagine relationships not as obligations but as shared adventures, full of spontaneity and connection. When we rediscover the spirit of play, we begin to see that life's greatest joys are found not in achievement but in participation. The laughter of a shared moment, the exhilaration of trying something new, the beauty of simply being, it is these experiences that give life its richness. To live life as play is not to ignore its difficulties but to approach them with lightness. It is to understand that while we cannot control everything, we can choose how we engage with it. We can choose to move through life with a sense of openness, humor, and wonder. So let us play not as an escape but as a way of returning to what matters most. Let us rediscover the joy of being, not as something to be earned, but as something to be earned, but as something that is always here, waiting for us to embrace it. Life is a tapestry woven from opposites, light and dark, joy and sorrow, chaos and order. We often see these contrasts as forces in conflict, as if one must defeat the other for harmony to exist. But what if, instead, these opposites are not enemies but partners? What if their interplay is what gives life its richness and depth? Consider the experience of light. We cherish the warmth of the sun, the glow of a candle, or the brilliance of a clear day. But would light mean anything without darkness? If there were no night, no shadows, no contrast, we wouldn't even notice the light. It would be constant, unremarkable, and ultimately invisible. Darkness doesn't diminish light, it defines it. It's the contrast that makes it beautiful, that gives it purpose. This principle is present in every aspect of our existence. Think of joy. The moments of happiness we treasure often shine brightest because they emerge from hardship or uncertainty. The laughter shared after tears, the triumph after struggle, the peace found after a storm, these are moments made meaningful because of what preceded them. Without sorrow, could we truly understand joy? Without loss, could we fully appreciate love? Opposites are not obstacles, they are mirrors. They reflect the full spectrum of life and invite us to embrace its complexity. When we resist one half of this spectrum, seeking only ease without difficulty, pleasure without pain, or certainty without doubt, we flatten the richness of our experience. Life becomes shallow, and our understanding of ourselves and the world remains incomplete. Take chaos and order, for instance. At first glance, they seem irreconcilable. Chaos feels disruptive, unpredictable, and uncomfortable, while order feels safe, structured, and reassuring. Yet life itself emerges from the dance between these forces. The creativity of an artist often springs from chaotic inspiration, later refined into order. The growth of a forest depends on both the apparent chaos of nature and the inherent order within its cycles. Chaos fuels change, while order gives it form. The mystery of opposites lies in their interdependence. They do not cancel each other out, they complement each other. Like two sides of the same coin, they cannot exist without each other. This understanding can transform how we approach challenges in our lives. Instead of fearing difficulty, we can see it as a contrast that will illuminate the beauty of what comes next. Instead of avoiding discomfort, we can recognize it as a teacher guiding us toward growth. To accept opposites is to embrace the fullness of life. It is to understand that life's beauty lies not in its perfection, but in its contrasts. The bitter and the sweet, the highs and the lows, the moments of stillness and the ones of upheaval, all are threads in the same fabric. Together, they create a pattern that is dynamic, vibrant, and endlessly meaningful. So let us not fear life's opposites, but welcome them. For it is in their interplay that we find the profound mystery of what it means to live. Life, as serious as we often make it out to be, has a way of throwing us curveballs, contradictions, and absurdities that leave us baffled. We plan, we strive, we worry, and then something entirely unexpected happens. Our carefully laid plans unravel, our best efforts go unnoticed, and the world carries on as if it's all one big cosmic joke. But what if that's exactly the point? What if the secret to navigating life isn't to conquer it, but to laugh with it? Humor, at its core, is about perspective. It's about stepping back from a situation, seeing its incongruities, and finding joy in the absurd. Life is full of these moments if we have the courage to notice them. Think of all the times you've worried about something only for it to turn out completely different from what you imagined. The irony of those moments can feel frustrating at first, but they're also liberating. They remind us that no matter how much we try to control life, it will always have surprises in store. Take, for example, our constant quest for meaning. We ponder the purpose of existence, the nature of the universe, and our role in it. And yet here we are, tiny creatures on a spinning rock in an infinite cosmos, making elaborate plans and stressing over minor details. It's funny when you think about it, this juxtaposition of the profound and the mundane. The universe seems to wink at us, as if to say, relax, you're part of something much bigger than you can imagine. Don't take it all so seriously. This doesn't mean life is trivial or meaningless. Quite the opposite. Laughter doesn't diminish the significance of existence, it enhances it. By finding humor in life's unpredictability, we align ourselves with its rhythm. Humor reminds us to let go of rigid expectations and embrace the flow of life as it comes. It teaches us resilience by showing us that even in our darkest moments, there is room for lightness. Some of the most profound lessons come wrapped in humor. Think of the times you've learned about yourself through embarrassing missteps or unexpected challenges. Those moments, though awkward or painful at first, often become the stories we tell with a smile later on. The cosmic joke is not here to belittle us, but to teach us humility and perspective. Life invites us to laugh not because it is mocking us, but because it is inviting us to play. To see existence as a cosmic joke is to embrace its unpredictability with an open heart. It's to find joy in the paradoxes, the missteps, and the unexpected twists that make life so dynamic. It's to realize that the punchline of the joke is not at our expense, but for our delight. So let us laugh not in defiance of life's challenges, but in celebration of its mysteries. For in that laughter we find not just humor, but wisdom, freedom, and the courage to truly live. Life often feels like a river, dynamic, unpredictable, and endlessly moving. Yet instead of flowing with its current, we often find ourselves struggling against it. We grasp for control, resist change, and fear the unknown. But what if the secret to peace isn't in fighting the current, but in surrendering to it? What if life is asking us not to conquer it, but to trust it? When we resist the flow of life, we exhaust ourselves, we try to plan for every outcome, control every detail, and force things to go our way. And yet, no matter how hard we try, life inevitably surprises us. Plans change, circumstances shift, and the unexpected becomes our reality. The more we cling to control, the more turbulent life feels. But surrendering to life's flow is not about giving up or being passive. It's about trusting that the current knows where it's going. It's about recognizing that while we may not always know the path ahead, life has a way of guiding us to exactly where we need to be. Trusting the flow means showing up fully for the moment you're in, without demanding that it be something else. I think of times in your life when things didn't go as planned. Perhaps a path you thought was certain fell apart, or an opportunity you pursued didn't work out. In the moment, it may have felt like failure. But later, perhaps you realize that those moments of disruption led to growth, clarity, or unexpected blessings. The current of life often takes us to places we could never have imagined on our own. Trusting the flow also means embracing uncertainty. Life, by its very nature, is unpredictable. But within that unpredictability lies its beauty. The twists and turns, the surprises and detours, they are what make the journey alive and meaningful. When we fall into the flow, we stop fighting and start being. We open ourselves to the present moment, to the lessons it holds, and to the opportunities it offers. We discover that life doesn't have to be a constant struggle for control. It can be a dance, a partnership, a collaboration. So let us trust the current, even when it feels unfamiliar or daunting. Let us let go of the need to know every answer or predict every turn. In surrendering to the flow, we find freedom. And in that freedom, we discover the joy of simply being carried by life itself. We live in a world that celebrates control, effort, and mastery. We are taught to hold on tightly, whether it's to our goals, relationships, or ideas, believing that the tighter we grip, the closer we'll be to what we want. But often, the harder we try to control, the more elusive peace and fulfillment become. Sometimes the most profound breakthroughs come not from holding on, but from letting go. Surrender is often misunderstood. It's seen as weakness, as giving up, or as a sign of defeat. But true surrender is none of these things. It is not about abandoning effort or responsibility. It is about releasing the need to force outcomes, trusting instead in the natural flow of life. Surrender is not passive, it is an active choice to accept what is, to stop fighting against reality, and to find freedom in alignment with it. Think about the moments in your life when you've clung too tightly, whether to an idea of how things should be, to a person who was no longer meant to stay, or to a vision of success that no longer served you. That grip, that refusal to let go, often creates tension and struggle. And yet, when you finally release that hold, you may have found something unexpected: clarity, peace, or a new path opening before you. Letting go doesn't mean losing, it often means making space for something greater. Surrender is not about relinquishing control to chaos, but trusting in a deeper order. It's about recognizing that life is vast and complex, and we don't always have the full picture. When we let go of our attachment to specific outcomes, we open ourselves to possibilities we couldn't have imagined. Surrender invites us to participate in life with curiosity and openness, rather than with fear and resistance. This doesn't mean giving up on your dreams or aspirations. It means pursuing them with passion while remaining flexible, understanding that the path might look different than you envisioned. Surrender is about trusting that even when the road twists or obstacles arise, there is wisdom in the journey itself. In letting go, we find that we are not falling apart, but falling into place. We become more present, more connected, and more attuned to life's rhythm. Surrender doesn't take us further from what we seek. It brings us closer to peace, closer to our true selves, and closer to the life we're meant to live.